The days after that night felt unreal. I walked around town, pretending everything was normal, but every shadow seemed to follow me. Even in broad daylight, I would catch glimpses of movement in the corners of my eyes, shapes that disappeared the moment I turned. The wind brushing through the trees sounded different somehow, like whispers I couldn't quite catch. My friends noticed I had changed. They said I seemed distant, distracted, like I was hearing something no one else could. I smiled politely, nodding, but inside I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. One evening, I decided to return to the house once more. This time, I brought a flashlight and my phone to record anything unusual. The street was empty, the sky heavy with clouds that made the streetlights glow like halos. As I approached the house, I noticed something new: footprints leading from the street up to the front porch. They were wet, muddy, fresh. My heart pounded, each beat echoing in my ears, but I stepped forward, feeling the cold air press against my skin like a warning. Inside, the air was thick, almost solid. The hallway seemed longer, stretching farther than it should have. I swept my flashlight across the walls, revealing more scratches, deeper this time, almost like they were clawed in by some desperate hand. The mirror had returned, perched in the same place. My reflection stared back, eyes darker, smile wider. And then the whisper came again, closer this time. "You can't leave." Panic surged, and I turned to run, but the hallway had changed. Doors that hadn't been there before lined the walls, each one slightly open, revealing darkness beyond. Shadows shifted, moving in ways that defied logic. I stepped back, and one of the shadows detached itself, sliding silently across the floor. It was thin, tall, featureless, yet I could feel its gaze drilling into me, cold and heavy. I fled down the stairs, tripping over broken boards, my friends' voices echoing faintly from outside, as if mocking me. But when I burst through the front door, they were gone. The street was empty. The house stared at me like a living thing, waiting. That night, sleep didn't come. Every corner of my room seemed to hold a shadow. Every sound outside whispered my name, the rustle of the curtains, the creak of the floorboards. Everything felt alive. Days turned into weeks. The feeling of being watched never left. I tried to convince myself it was my imagination, a trick of fear. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I started seeing it everywhere. Reflections in windows, fleeting shapes in photographs, shadows that lingered even when there was nothing to cast them. Sometimes I would catch movement in my peripheral vision and freeze, heart hammering, only to turn and see nothing. Then, one night, I found a note slipped under my door. No handwriting, just the words, "You should have stayed away." The paper was cold, damp, and smelled faintly of earth. My hands trembled as I held it, realizing that whatever haunted the house had followed me. I tried burning it, tearing it, flushing it down the toilet, but the words reappeared the next day, etched into the paper, as if mocking me. I couldn't tell anyone. My friends would laugh, my parents would worry. No one would understand. And so I began watching, waiting, documenting every sound, every shadow. I installed cameras, set up motion sensors, even recorded the ambient sounds of my room at night. But the footage always showed empty rooms, and the whispers never came through on tape. Only I could hear them. Weeks later, curiosity became unbearable. I returned one last time, flashlight trembling in my hands. The door creaked open, welcoming me like a predator, welcoming prey. Inside, the hallway was endless, the walls alive with movement, whispering voices overlapping in a low, hungry chorus. I felt drawn forward, compelled, as if invisible hands were guiding me deeper. At the end of the hall, I saw a room I had never entered. The walls were covered in mirrors, all reflecting me, but each reflection was slightly wrong. Eyes too wide, smiles too cruel. The shadows coalesced into forms, figures without faces, moving closer with silent intent. I could feel their cold breath on my neck, a chill crawling under my skin. Then I saw it, my own reflection, stepping out of the mirror, grinning. It spoke, voice 1,000 whispers at once. "You are mine." My knees buckled, my lungs burned, and I ran. I ran screaming down the stairs, through the house, out into the street. The mirrors shattered behind me, the shadows melting into darkness. I didn't stop until I reached my room, slamming the door behind me. I thought it was over, but it wasn't. Even now, months later, I feel it. In every reflective surface, in every quiet room, in every corner of my mind. Sometimes, late at night, I hear the whisper, "We're still here. We never left." The sound of it crawls into my dreams, twisting reality until I wake drenched in sweat, certain the room is watching me. I began avoiding mirrors, windows, even my phone screen when it reflected light. I would cover shiny surfaces with cloth, rearrange furniture, and yet the shadows found a way in. They lingered in the dark spaces behind doors, under my bed, creeping across walls in angles that shouldn't exist. The faint smell of earth, damp and cold, haunted every step I took. I tried to document it all, every shadow, every whisper. The notes I wrote filled notebooks, each page trembling as I scrawled what I saw and heard. But the more I wrote, the stronger the presence felt, as if the act of recording only fed it. Every sentence became a beacon, guiding something unseen closer. Then one evening I glimpsed it in the reflection of a teacup. Its eyes were mine, but wrong, darker, filled with hunger. It smiled at me, and I could swear it winked. I stumbled back, spilling tea, shattering the cup, but the reflection didn't break. The figure remained grinning, moving closer, whispering my name. Sleep became impossible. Days and nights blurred together. I would wake up to find shadows standing in corners, shifting when I moved. The wind carried voices through the cracks in my walls, low and deliberate. Friends tried to reach me, but I barely answered, afraid they might see what I had seen. Every attempt to leave the house for more than a few minutes left me anxious, sweating, certain the shadows were following me outside now. Finally, I returned to the house one last time. The air was colder than before, thick with something alive. The walls whispered in languages I almost recognized, voices overlapping, urgent and accusing. Every step I took echoed like a drumbeat of warning. At the room of mirrors, I paused. Every reflection was distorted, watching, judging. The shadows formed shapes, some human, some not, circling me, silent, patient. My reflection stepped forward again. "You belong here," it said. The voice was my own, yet filled with cruelty, with certainty. The shadows surged, pressing closer. I bolted. Every mirror shattered in my wake, shards raining like deadly rain. Yet somehow they reassembled, reforming. I ran out, the street empty, the sky heavy, the night oppressive. Even now I feel it, in the shine of a spoon, the surface of a screen, in darkened alleys. Sometimes I see movement behind me in reflections I never noticed before. And I know without doubt the house is waiting, waiting across the street, waiting in my mind, waiting for the moment I step outside again, waiting to finish what it started. I live now in careful vigilance, in fear and observation, knowing that the shadows never sleep, that the mirrors never rest. I hear whispers sometimes when the wind brushes my face. Sometimes they call my name, softly at first, then louder. And when I catch my reflection in the corner of my eye, it smiles a little too wide. Always waiting, always patient, always there.